This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax. No Grant. Grant is off for the summer, unfortunately, but starting next week on August 24th, that's right, if you haven't heard by now, Bax and Grant will be going to 5 days a week, and we will be available for you Monday through Friday, either from 7 to 8 a.m. Central if you want to listen to the show live on Spreaker.com. And you can also check us out from 11 to 1 Central on Sports Radio America as well. And it's an exciting day. So much excitement going on. Our final summer series show. It's a tongue twister to say, my goodness. Final summer series show is upon us, and I am thrilled with just how great this summer has gone, honestly. We have had so much growth in the show. We've had so many cool experiences. And it's been awesome to continue the growth of Bax and Grant, and it's all thanks to you guys, the listeners, the viewers on Periscope. So hello to all of you Periscopians out there. Great to have you. It's amazing to see how far that this show has gone, and I'm just very thrilled overall. So a special thank you from myself to all of you, and to the new listeners that will continue to add as well in the coming weeks. So. We've got all kinds of fun things to talk about today. We are concluding our AFC, NFC division previews. We'll be finishing up in the hallowed NFC North division and AFC North division, and we'll be walking through that and taking a look at some of the players, the teams, and giving predictions of how we think that the divisions are both going to wind up this year. Connor Christensen will be joining us on the phone later on in the show to offer his fitness tip and fight corner. And then in the studio, finally for the first time, we will have Sid Powell as well. And for those of you that have listened to the show in the past, you know that if Sid Powell is coming on the show, that one of two things is going to be spoken about, either the New England Patriots or Deflategate, and he's going to talk about both. So I said that I would not ever talk about Deflategate again, but when you have the opportunity to have the Deflategate expert in the studio with you, it's a little different. You have to make exceptions to the rules, so if any of you don't like Deflategate, that's like three-fourths of the show, away. So you've got plenty of time. Listen to all the other cool stuff, and then if you really just don't want to listen, you can go accordingly. But anyway, for those of you that do want to listen, you can listen to us for one more week on Sports Radio America on our summertime from 7 to 10 Eastern, Monday nights. You can listen to us on Live 365 and tune in. You can also listen to us on demand anytime you want on Spreaker.com, on iHeartRadio. Yeah, iHeartRadio. What up? And you can download our podcast on iTunes as well. And just as of recent, our content is now being featured on the SportsQuotient.com as well. So we are very excited to have that opportunity to partner with them as we move forward with the continued growth of our show. So, and you can also find us on social media as well, the Bax and Grant Sports Show on Facebook. And then on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, we are at BG Sports Show as well. And if you ever feel like dropping us an email, bgsportshow@gmail.com. And for those of you that may have or may not have heard, last week we now have a call text line as well. You can get a hold of the show at 262-324-2385. Let us know your thoughts and feelings about things we chat about on the show. If we don't answer when you call, you leave us a voicemail. Let us know your name, where you're calling from, and your thoughts on something we talked about on the show. We'd love to hear from you and to be able to feature whatever, content you provide to us, as long as it is not too, out of the ordinary or, too completely ridiculous. Like if you're a Bears fan calling saying you're going to win the Super Bowl, I'm just going to delete your message and pretend I ever even got the message. So I'm not that mean. We'll obviously feature it on the show if it does end up happening. So, and then finally, you can follow myself on Twitter at Baxter Colburn. And you can follow Grant, my wonderful, illustrious co-host, who will finally be returning to the co-host chair next week, at Grant's Rant BGSS. So you can follow us both at Baxter Colburn, at Grant's Rant BGSS on Twitter. So we are very excited. A huge show coming up, and we are always excited to welcome in the lovely and talented Sonia Kondratyenko of Howler Magazine. And she has acquired a new title now. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know she now works for Kick TV as well. She's living the life I wish I could, and I'm living vicariously through her. So, Sonia, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's been way too long, Sonia, way too long. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks.
I haven't known what to do. I haven't had my daily, soccer dosage from you, and it's been painful, but I'm so glad we were able to finally reconnect.
Yeah, no, definitely. I am dog sitting at the moment.
I was gonna say, I'm like, should I be worried about the noises in the background, or is those just our loyal fans listening in?
Yeah, the dog. I don't know what's setting the dog off, but I think maybe he was rooting for the Chicago Fire because they just lost against the Union, so he's a little grumpy about that.
Oh gosh, they did end up losing. It was just 2-2 last time I looked. They ended, oh no,
yeah, and it was a very late, right before I got on the line here. Was two scored and put them up 3-2, and
it's 3-3. The Chicago Fire tied.
Oh shoot! Well, then I missed that goal. Well, then that was very
Yeah, no, I just checked as well because I was like, oh wow, and then I just looked and they said the final is 3-3. They said Fire level back on a Nyarko, Patrick Nyarko with a tying goal. So
it's kind of funny timing because they played each other in the Open Cup on Wednesday, and now Sunday, a couple days later. So now we had a first run a couple days ago.
Yep.
And now we have a pretty exciting game tonight.
And that's what ended up kind of happening. It was far more entertaining than the 1-0 snooze fest that the Union put on. I mean, the Union won, which is great, I guess, if you're a Union fan, but that was a pretty boring soccer game overall. But
right, it was
a 3-3 thriller now between the Philadelphia Union and the Chicago Fire. It's it's a little better, and, still not a decisive win.
Say a 6-goal game between two teams that aren't known.
They're pretty terrible. Let's not even joke about this.
Well, Fire's what last in the league, I think, right now. So
yeah, they're not playing too favorably. And speaking of not favorably, the Seattle Sounders finally getting a victory today. It's been a long time coming, and they had quite the coming out party, a 4-0 victory over Orlando City SC.
Yeah, no, and they had some pretty good tifo to go with the win.
They usually do. That's why we love them so much.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of good tifo, we had at the New York Derby last Sunday, Lampard and Pirlo depicted as like old men with a cane or walker.
Well, they pretty much showed it too because they were kind of non-existent in that with the Red Bulls just dominating that game.
Yeah, no, that was they swept the season against NYCFC, and I mean their fans are pretty stoked on it.
Absolutely. How do you feel about that? You're a DC United fan with,
Exactly. And, I went to the DC United game at Yankee Stadium against NYCFC when? Was it Wednesday night?
I think that was last week. Yeah, it was last week because I was chatting with you.
I have no idea. My perception of time is messed up. But, it was Thursday because it was the night after Open Cup. Okay, so Thursday night, I predicted 3-0 DC over NYCFC. And
that didn't work out too well for you.
No, it didn't work out too well. We had a 3-1 loss to NYCFC. I mean, it was exciting, though, to see NYCFC get a win. And you know what else was exciting to say? That I've seen Pirlo play twice in 5 days. I mean,
that is something that most people can't say in a lifetime. That they can see the legend Andre Pirlo play twice in 2 days, and like you said, you had that opportunity. So I'm very jealous because I've been a Pirlo fan. I'm an Italy national fan because of my heritage, but obviously USA first. So I've definitely followed Pirlo throughout. But yeah, New York though, they're still on the outside looking in. They're only a point out from being in a playoff spot. But I don't know if I don't know if I really feel like New York is going to make the playoffs. Do you have any thoughts from actually seeing them play in person?
I mean, I was kind of feeling like it wasn't going to happen.
Fair enough.
But, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see the next couple of games what's going on. They haven't been playing together as a team for very long.
Yeah, no, and that's completely true. But we've seen Pirlo, we've seen David Villa step up and prove that you can, have played together for a day or have played together all season long and actually produce. And then you've got men like with old, that are old and have canes like, Frank Lampard that are not doing anything. And now there's rumors that he might even be hurt as well. So
yeah, he didn't play. He didn't play the other night. But Poku,
fans seem to like him. I don't know what I feel about him.
Now that I'm going to be moving to New York and I'm fully entrenched in NYCFC things every day, I notice how much Poku means to everybody, and I am even kind of a little stoked on him because he doesn't seem to get a lot of credit from I don't know what I can tell, but all 7 games he started in they have won.
Really?
And I've been seeing a lot of Poku shirts.
Well, see, that makes, perfect sense to me, saying, oh, I should start him more if I was, Jason Kreis, the head coach. But, that's thinking logically in the soccer world doesn't always work out, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so
not at all.
Elaborate a little bit. I said that you were going to Kick TV now in New York. What? So first of all, congratulations on that. That's very exciting for you. What are you going to be doing now for Kick TV, and how do you feel about the move to the big city?
So I am, as of, I don't know, I started my first day was the beginning of the week on Monday. I started at Kick TV as the social media community manager. So I'm over at Kick TV doing all kinds of fun soccer social media stuff, pretty much what I'm already doing on a slightly larger scale.
Okay.
It's a very, very fun environment, very creative.
Are you still doing things for Howler as well?
People. I am a little bit involved in Howler still, yeah.
So what is your official title now, so I know how to properly introduce you?
Oh, gosh, I don't...
Social media wizard? I don't know.
I'm trying to come up with something fun because social media community manager is kind of like
it's kind of boring.
I mean, it's a little serious. So like some kind of
you're too fun to have such a serious title, Sonia.
Right. I agree.
I don't like guru or I don't know. We need something.
We'll come up with something.
Yeah, we'll put a panel together and figure something out. But
I'm totally down with that.
Absolutely. Well, that's exciting though that you get to go and do some work with Kick TV. We always appreciate your contributions to the show. So when now that you're big and famous, please don't forget about us little people here at the Baxter Grand Sports Show.
Oh, never.
Oh, thank you. So, what are you looking forward to now with the remainder of MLS, and then the Barclays Premier League has just begun as well. So, and you had mentioned that there might be some passport stamping coming up in the next few months.
Yeah, well, I'm for MLS wise, I'm super stoked for DC United to win the league right now. Top of the league. We're gonna go MLS Cup. We're gonna sweep the whole thing. This is our year. I hope. That's really what I'm looking forward to. I figured when I would move away from home would be the time that we would be in first.
Well, you have time. I mean, you can. It's not too far away. You can always travel back if they do, continue their good run.
Ride home.
Absolutely.
But I'm actually flying to England tomorrow night.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, short notice, huh? I'm going to go to a couple matches. Maybe a championship match this week. Definitely Leicester, Tottenham at Leicester this Saturday. Pretty stoked on that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. What brought all of that up?
I have before I took this job, I had a ticket to England.
Okay.
So I have some friends to visit, some soccer to see. Yeah, just a little trip to England.
Yeah, just no big deal, right? Just
No.
Whatever happens, I guess. Wow, no big deal. Well, that's awesome. I'm excited to see all the pictures. I'm sure that you'll be posting all over social media because you're such a social media savant. That would be a good title for you, a savant.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like the S. S was my favorite letter, so there we go.
Oh, I would assume so with it being the first letter of your first name. So
yeah.
That would be like me saying Q's my favorite letter, even though I start with it's nothing to do with my name. Although my middle name is Quinton, so you could work it in there if you needed to.
Close enough.
Absolutely. Well, Sonia, it's been great catching up with you. I appreciate you taking the time. Any other final thoughts for us before we let you go?
Ooh, I'm so excited for Champions League to come back.
Ooh, do you have? Every time anybody just says Champions League, I hear the theme playing in my head.
Totally.
It's such an iconic tournament, and I'm excited for it. Do you have any early front runners at all?
I always go normally my Champions League team is always Shakhtar Donetsk. So
okay.
I love my Ukrainian soccer.
Fair enough. You gotta stay with the roots.
I like to see the obscure teams kind of try and pull through or hold out as long as they can.
Now, who's your realistic view though of who you think is going to win? Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Who are you feeling?
Oh man, you know what? Well, we've been working on a lot of kind of funny trophy graphics for Barcelona, racking them up.
Oh geez.
And so, yeah.
Well, maybe they'll be adding another one. You never know.
You never know, and if they do, I have the gift ready to post.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing that when I'm sure it probably will happen because, let's be honest, Lionel Messi is, the next thing closest to God. So, Sonia, always a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time. Have fun in England. Have some fish and chips for us and a few pints as well if you're allowed to relax and have some fun. So you can absolutely you can follow Sonia on all walks of social media at Sonia Karate. Sonia, thank you so much. Have fun and be safe.
Thank you for having me. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Always a good time chatting with Sonia Kondratenko of Howler Magazine and now of Kick TV as well. So we are going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to dive into our AFC and NFC North previews and then move along with the rest of the show. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax. No Grant. Grant is off for the summer, but he will return next week as we go to our official 5 days a week, starting on August 24th. Remember, you can listen to us live Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time. I know it's early, but I mean, come on. We'll all be up anyway. Most of you will be going to work. The other ones will be getting ready for school. I know it's almost that time, unfortunately. College, high school. My wife is a teacher. She's excited to get back into the swing of things but Wisconsin schools, most of them don't start until September 1st, so she's got plenty of time. But the rest of us, we have to go to work and, pretend like we actually enjoy doing what we do, which I do. I enjoy doing this and the Bax and Grant Sports Show and the crew and everybody, so it'll be good to get back at it. But remember, you can reach us by the telephone by dialing 262-324-2385. That's 262-324-2385. Let us know your thoughts about anything we talk about during the show. We love hearing from you. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter as well, at BG Sports Show. Follow me at Baxter Colburn, and follow Grant at Grant's Rant BGSS. It's been far too long since I've had a Grant's Rant on the show, and I'll be stoked to finally get them back again when we go to 5 days a week. I don't know if it's going to be a Grant's Rant every single day of the week. It might be a bit much for Grant because I know he gets easily overwhelmed, but we'll see. Well, we're going to have a final production meeting this week and get it all worked out. So, and another big shout out to all of you watching on Periscope as well. So, thanks, guys. We appreciate the viewership instead of the listenership, but you're listening as well in your own way, shape, or form. But it works out. So, we are moving on with the final division previews for the AFC and NFC. We've worked our way through all the divisions, and now we have arrived at the AFC North and the NFC North. It's been quite the turn of events the last year, and even going into this regular season for teams in both divisions. For those of you that paid any attention to the football world last year, you know in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens had all the controversy surrounding Ray Rice and the domestic abuse case, or domestic violence, where he was recorded knocking his wife, his then fiance, clean out with a punch in the elevator, and then dragging her out of the elevator, all caught on security cameras, and he was suspended for the year and cut from the Ravens, and now he is looking to try to get back at it. He has served his restitution. He is looking to get back in the football world because he's still in relatively good shape. I mean, yes, he had a pretty bad 2013 season, but now that he has had a season to rest and recover, kind of like Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson, obviously, with a whole nother game of what he had to happen with his son. It's going to be interesting now to see if Ray Rice is picked up. So, and it's interesting because the AFC North, there is a team in the AFC North that is rumored, just purely rumored, to be interested in signing him, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns backfield is pretty much one of the worst backfields in most of football right now. That they're really not going to find much excitement or explosiveness from their backfield this season. Right now, their starting running back is Isaiah Cronwell. He's not horrible, but he's not great either. Terrence West is their second string. Duke Johnson, their third, and Sean Dragan, their fourth. So for most of you probably just went, who? What? I didn't even know he was a player. So with that being said, not to say that Ray Rice would come in and be a savior for the Browns, but he very well could give that offense a needed push that it's going to need this year. The slated starting wide receivers are Brian Hartline and Dwayne Bowe, which is interesting. Brian Hartline, obviously a former Dolphins wide receiver, and Dwayne Bowe, a former Chiefs wide receiver, now both finding themselves in Cleveland. Josh McCown and Johnny Manziel battling things out for that first QB spot. Manziel didn't look too terrible in his first preseason game this last weekend. Josh McCown also doing things and stuff, but neither really sticking out as the clear front runner. Cleveland, at the end of the day, though, I feel will probably go with the safe pick and probably go Josh McCown. But at the same time, I was speaking with some friends of mine, and they said that in Cleveland, Johnny Manziel would not be the worst idea because Cleveland can afford to gamble right now because they're not really doing anything that is blowing the minds of any team. They're not in the position to compete for a championship. So why not give Johnny Manziel a chance? Why not let him mess around for a while and see if he can't maybe produce some magic that we saw down at Texas A&M when he was in college. Whether or not Cleveland ends up going that route is obviously still yet to be seen. It will be interesting, though. I don't see Cleveland escaping this division in terms of making it out to a playoff position this year. So in my opinion, Cleveland is going to finish last in the division again. They were 7-9 last year. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and go 8-8 this year. But that for best case scenario, 8-8. Worst case scenario, 6-10. I think that their offense is going to be the downfall of their organization, as it usually is. Brian Hartline is a decent wide receiver. Dwayne Bowe, he's decent as well, but neither of them are that breakout, amazing player like Josh Gordon was. Not Dwayne Bowe, sorry, like Josh Gordon was. And then Josh Gordon obviously was suspended and eventually just drop-kicked out of the NFL for all of his substance abuse issues and all of his other just horrible things that he decided to do with his life. Because when you're making millions of dollars, the thing that you're going to want to do the most is to be stupid and get suspended and then eventually kicked out. So he was, for normal people, just imagine you have a nice high-paying job and you go to work every day and you're doing great, and people are loving you, you're an up-and-comer in the company, and then you decide outside of work that you're going to go and do frivolous things that involve drugs or alcohol or women or whatever, and then that gets back to your company saying, hey, one of your top talented people that is coming up to the company is not doing very nice things outside of work, and then that leaks in, and then there's trouble, and then you end up getting fired. So he ended up getting fired from a multi-million-dollar job and at the end of the day, because the NFL is a job. These players are professionals. They are getting paid millions of dollars to go out and do things that most of us wish we could do. And so that's their job. That's how they make their money. That's how they support their families. with that all being said, Cleveland, bottom of the division this year. They've got nothing going for them. Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh finished third, second, and first, respectively, last year. Pittsburgh won the division with an 11-5 record. They finished with a division record of 4-2. Cincinnati and Baltimore both with 3-3 division records. Pittsburgh, once again, they will have Le'Veon Bell a game sooner than they thought they would. They thought he was going to be gone for 3 games. His suspension has been reduced to 2 games. Pittsburgh, they have the tools to definitely make some noise. Yes, they are doing weird things in terms of the offense and the defense. They're still trying to figure out exactly. They're 0-2 in preseason, but I remember when preseason actually counted for something, which it doesn't unless you're a fourth-string player trying to actually make the team. So they'll be fine. I'm not really worried about that in complete honesty. I am a little concerned how Antonio Brown is the only lights-out, really talented wide receiver on the team. They've got a few other guys on the team, Marcus Wheaton, Sammy Coates, Darius Hayward-Bay, none of which, Martavius Bryant, none of which really jump out as elite, game-changing wide receivers, in my opinion. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, those are your big 3. Those are going to be the guys. Heath Miller as well at the tight end position. He's just been a solid tight end. That's on a complete side note, I am curious to know if a guy like Heath Miller will end up finding his way into the Hall of Fame one day. He's got a Super Bowl. I just don't know if he's good enough, just to see if he will actually make it to the Hall of Fame one day. He might be a late, selection, and after several years after he's retired. But he's been on a consistent streak. He's done well. He's been a high producer for the Steelers. So we'll see what happens. Steelers, in my opinion, win the division again this year. I think Baltimore and Cincinnati will flip-flop this year, though. Baltimore, they seem to be doing the right things in terms of the players that they have through their organization. They do open up the regular season at Denver, at Oakland, and then they're home against Cincy, but then they're at Pittsburgh, and then they are home against the Browns. So they've got quite a challenging first few games of the season. However, though, they do have some good players on their team. Justin Forsett, he had a bit of a coming-out party last year with everything that happened with Ray Rice. Joe Flacco, obviously a solid quarterback in all respects. He's not an elite quarterback, but I'd say he's a great quarterback. Tight end, they don't have much in that regards. They've got Crockett Gilmore. Apparently, Crockett's now a first name. It's been a last name, Davy, just to name a few, Davy Crockett. Max Williams with 2 X's because that's how he rolls, and Nick Boyle. All 3 of those guys, nobody really jumps off the page to me in terms of a lights-out, game-changing tight end, but when you've got a Harbaugh as a head coach, Baltimore can do anything they want. So we'll see what happens. Steve Smith, Senior, Steve Smith Senior, that's a fun thing to say 20 times fast. He is retiring after the end of this year, a fantastic legend of the game. I think, yes, he will be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if there's too many people that can argue against that. He's had a terrific, long, illustrious career. He made his name for himself in Carolina with everything he did there. He's bounced around a little bit. Baltimore has been great to him as well. He's produced well. It's his last year. If you're a fantasy guy looking for a late wide receiver to go out and grab Steve Smith, why not? Why not? It's his last year. He's going to leave it all on the table. He is going to do his very best to make a name for himself, to leave a lasting legacy before he retires at the end of the year. Whether or not Baltimore wins the Super Bowl, highly doubt it. But at the same time, anything's possible in the NFL. Last but not least, the Cincinnati Bengals. They are my pick to finish third. Yes, they've got some young, exciting talent, but as a discussion I was having with some other friends a while ago, Cincinnati is just good enough that they'll always make the playoffs. I think that all 3 AFC North teams will make the playoffs. 3 out of the 4 teams will make the playoffs again this year. But I don't think that Cincinnati is going to get past the wild card like they always don't. Looking at their roster, though, on paper, they've got talented guys. A.J. Green at wide receiver, Tyler Eifert at tight end. Yes, you can make an argument Andy Dalton is a great quarterback. I'm indifferent, not a huge fan personally. Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard, a great 1-2 punch at the running back position. And then they've got Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu. They've got James Wright also, and they've got Brandon Tate, Denoris Moore, and Mario Alford as well. So they've got a pretty decent wide receiver core. Flipping over on the other side, yes, Geno Atkins, just a great, great talent in terms of their defense. Aside from that, Carlos Dunlap as well. He's always been a pretty aggressive playmaker as well. Leonel Hall at the corner position, Adam Jones as well. They've got a decent team overall, but like I said, I think that we'll see actually pretty similar records. Cincinnati, Baltimore, well, now that I think about it a little bit more, I think that Cincinnati maybe might have a better shot of going to that second position. But I'm going to stick with Baltimore right now. So Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincy, Cleveland is how my AFC North final prediction was going to go this year. So flipping over to the NFC North, I know a majority of our fans of the show are based in Wisconsin, the Midwest as a whole, and you've been waiting for us to finally get to this preview. I'm going to save a lot of time and money by switching to Geico, and that's not it. I'm going to save a lot of time by saying that Chicago will be lucky if they win 6 games this year. I'm going to just lay that out on the table right now. Chicago, they are going to be the worst team in the NFC North this year because Minnesota has figured things out. Detroit has figured things out. And Green Bay, yeah, they're fine. Chicago, on the other hand, is a hot, hot mess. They have nobody that's going to really help step up for them and really be a solid playmaker because just coming out this last week, it's been told that their rookie wide receiver that they drafted, Kevin White out of West Virginia, will more than likely miss at least 6 weeks. There's rumors that he might miss the entire season depending on how the surgery goes. I've heard issues that it might be a stress fracture. I've heard that he might have just his whole shin has been destroyed. It's been all over the place. On paper, Chicago's got a great team on offense. Martellus Bennett at the tight end position. Jay Cutler, okay, I'm kidding about that one. Matt Forte, though, fantastic dual threat running back. Alshon Jeffrey at wide receiver. He lived in the shadow of Brandon Marshall, and then Brandon Marshall was like, look, I can't even anymore with Chicago. He left town. Now he's a New York Jet. Hope he enjoys his career going down the toilet because nobody goes to the Jets anymore to be an elite player. Just saying. Look at Eric Decker. He was a fantastic receiver for the Broncos, went to the Jets, and the rest is history, as they say. So, Alshon Jeffrey, stay with Chicago for now. Because, if you do, Jay Cutler's got to throw the ball to somebody. When he's not throwing interceptions to the Green Bay Packers secondary, go Pack go, he is going to be trying to find Alshon Jeffrey. Yes, Kevin White is more than likely his next target after that, but like we said, we don't know how long Kevin White's officially going to be out. Eddie Royal, though, a former San Diego wide receiver, he is now going to be that second wide receiver, more than likely, for the Bears. He's a great talent. He's a little bit older, veteran guy, but he's going to definitely make some big plays for the organization. And aside from that, I mean, Chicago, you got nothing else to really throw at people. Your defense is all right. They have Antrell Roll at safety, so that's a big deal. Tim Jennings, and Kyle Fuller. So secondary-wise, they're pretty decent, not going to lie. Jared Allen on the defense, obviously he's going to cause a lot of problems. Aside from that, nobody else really jumps off the page at me as somebody that is a guy that I'm going to be terrified for. Now, moving forward with the last 3 teams, there are a few different things that you can say. You can make the assumption that Green Bay is going to win the division and then everybody's going to be happy and all is right in Packer world. Whether or not you want to believe that, that's completely up to you. Do I believe that? Well, I don't want to jump completely on the Packers winning the division bandwagon. I don't want to say that they won't, but let's look real briefly at Detroit. So Detroit, they've got Golden Tate, Joique Bell, Matt Stafford, Eric Ebron, and Calvin Johnson. That's a fantastic offense. Joique Bell is out right now, so Amir Abdullah, lo and behold, will be the starter for a while. Whether or not Theo Riddick maybe gets some carries, more than likely he will, because you want to give Amir Abdullah, a true rookie out of Nebraska, a ton of action right away because you want to ease him into it a little bit. That way you don't burn him out and break him. So Detroit, they've got a good product, but I think the fact that they lost Nick Fairley and Ndamukong Suh from their starting defensive line is going to really hurt them. Yes, you can make an argument saying that they've got Halo Toyonaga. They've got some great players, DeAndre Levy, Stephen Tulloch. They've got some good guys, Glover Quinn, Rasheed Mathis. Sure, yeah, maybe. But last I checked, you need to score more points than the opposing team to actually win the game. Yes, defense does help, and defense can certainly help win a championship. But at the end of the day, if your offense isn't putting the ball in the end zone, that's where the issues arise. I think that Detroit's offense will put plenty of points on the board, but I think their defense is going to give up more, if equal amounts, if not more, thus resulting in Detroit finishing third in the NFC North, in my opinion. Now, this is where it gets interesting because Minnesota actually has a good product to display this year. Mike Wallace, Charles Johnson, Kyle Rudolph, Adrian Peterson, Jerick McKinnon, and Teddy Bridgewater. That's a pretty good lineup if you ask me. Now, there's a few things, though, that go along with this, which is unfortunate because the Vikings have just lost Phil Loadholt. He has a torn Achilles, which, as most of you know, is painful. Not that I'm saying you've all have had a torn Achilles in your life. I have not, thank the Lord. But a torn Achilles is not something that you can just throw a little salve on, ice it down for an afternoon, and be out there for practice the next day. A torn Achilles is a season-ending injury, 9 times out of 10, depending on how bad it is. From everything that's been coming out, it's not looking good right now. For what we're looking at, the Vikings will have their 4th-round pick, T.J. Clemens, to replace at right tackle, and it's unfortunate because Phil Loadholt, he's 29 years old. He's signed through 2016 with a contract at $5.4 million. So I'm curious to know how he will end up, how the Vikings will now try to have a solid blocking scheme for Adrian Peterson, but as we've seen Adrian Peterson do in the past, he's done just fine with far less blocking talent. I think the Vikings, yes, this will be a huge loss for the team. However, I think they will do just fine. The Vikings are my sleeper pick to steal a wild card spot this year, and I think that they can steal a wild card game from another wild card team in the playoffs this year. So Minnesota, I like them winning 10 games this year. They've got a good product on offense. Looking at the defensive side of things, Sharif Floyd, great guy. Brian Robeson, Everson Griffin, Chad Greenway. Sure, he's a little bit older, but he's still pretty darn good. Gerald Hodges, Anthony Barr. And then you look at the secondary. Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes, Terrence Newman, Trey Waynes, the rookie, Anton Exum. They've got some good guys on that offense, and now obviously flipping over onto the defensive side, they've got an equally talented group of guys. Charles Johnson is going to be a wild card. We'll see how well he plays this year for Minnesota. He is slotted to be that number 2 wide receiver next to Mike Wallace. And then obviously the big question mark, Cordell Patterson, how good is he? Is he going to just be a return guy now for them? He's slotted to be the kick returner. He's also slotted to be more than likely the 3rd or 4th wide receiver as well. It's all kind of a toss-up. End of the day, Minnesota, they're going to be just fine. They're going to take 2nd place in the NFC North. Finally, the Green Bay Packers, and it's been a long time coming finally getting to them, but I'm glad I can finally chat about them for just a tad. Yes, they won their opening preseason game 22-11. Woo, yay, 2-point conversions are just weird. That was a weird scoring game. I thought I was watching a college football game or Brett Favre's flag football game that we were at a few weeks ago. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers looked solid. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Eddie Lacy. All the guys on the starting offense looked solid. However, as it was written in full detail by many journalists in Wisconsin sports newspapers and online publications, the Packers offense in the red zone once again stalled significantly like it did in the NFC Championship game against Seattle. Yes, New England was throwing their full product at the Packers. Sometimes they weren't, depending on who was in. Aaron Rodgers was in for 3 straight series, and then he was done for the day. It's interesting that they still struggled. And this is a Packers team that thoroughly outplayed the Patriots during their regular season game last season. So it's going to be interesting to see just kind of what all comes from that. Green Bay's offense, no real worries about that. I think that they will win a minimum of 12 games this year. Defensively, this is where it gets a little interesting. The cornerback, secondary position is where a lot of the battles are happening right now. Sam Shields and Casey Hayward are slotted to be the starting corners, but then you have guys like Demetri Goodson, Demarius Randall, and Quentin Rollins that are all trying to steal playing time, especially from Casey Hayward. Sam Shields, 9 times out of 10, he will be the starting cornerback. He'll be in charge of covering guys like Alshon Jeffrey, Calvin Johnson, Mike Wallace, etc., etc. On the pass rush side of things, Dayton Jones, B.J. Raji, Mike Daniels, that front 3 does not intimidate me at all. out of those three, Mike Daniels is probably the best. You can say what you want about B.J. Raji if you are a Packers fan, and Datone Jones has just been kind of a fluke. Never really amounted to much since the Packers drafted him a few years ago. Mike Daniels is a fun pass rusher to watch. I think he will be definitely contributing a lot to the Packers in terms of pass rush, but that front three is not intimidating at all. When you look at the secondary, or when you look at the linebackers, Clay Matthews, Jake Ryan, Sam Barrington, Julius Peppers, as of right now, that's the four that will be projected to start. Clay Matthews, he's probable with an injury. He's been getting better from that. Jake Ryan, Sam Barrington, Julius Peppers. Julius Peppers, we know what he can do. We're not too worried about that. Sam Barrington, he had a decent year last year. We'll see. And then Jake Ryan, the rookie, that might get a little dicey. Maybe Nick Perry might finally step up and say, hey, I'm actually a good player, and you can trust me on the defensive side of things. Whether or not that actually happens, that is yet to be seen. Green Bay, you're going to win the division, in my opinion. So, Green Bay Packers number 1, Minnesota Vikings number 2, Detroit Lions 3, Chicago Bears 4. That's how I feel that the NFC North is going to wrap up. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this segment. We are going to go to a break. When we come back, Connor Christensen will be on the phone offering his fitness tip and his fight corner. This is the Baxter and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax. No Grant. Grant is out for the summer. He will be returning next week as we go to 5 days a week, not 5 golden rings, not Cinco de Mayo, 5 days, 5 dias for our Espanol listeners. Just press the SAP button on your remote. No, we don't have that. I'm sorry. That's for if you're watching Spanish broadcasts on Fox, ABC, etc. This is radio. You can't press the Spanish button. You can't press a button and yo estoy en el América. No, it just doesn't work. I don't just switch over to a Spanish-speaking voice. So I'm sorry, we don't have that kind of technology yet. Give us a few weeks, we might. Anyway, remember though, you can listen to us one more week here on Sports Radio America from 7 to 10 Eastern on Monday nights, on demand anytime you want on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and on iTunes as well. Give us a call. Let us know your thoughts. 262-324-2385. Leave us a voicemail. Let us know your thoughts about anything we talk about on the show. Text us. Let us know your thoughts. If you have any predictions of how you think the AFC, NFC North is going to figure out. We just were chatting about that before. If you're a Packers fan, you're probably very thrilled. If you're a Bears fan, well, you guys, the Bears still suck, so you're caught up with that. So I don't really need to worry about that. Pittsburgh, as we said, is going to win the division over in the NFC North, and the Browns. Yeah, well, Cleveland, you just need to relocate. Maybe Cleveland should be the new team that goes to Los Angeles instead of St. Louis. Just a thought. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, it's that time of the show, folks, where we bring in a wonderful man, Connor Christensen. He is not in the studio, unfortunately, but thanks to modern technology, he is here via the telephone. So, Connor, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Bax?
Wonderful, wonderful. It's so weird. I miss you sitting across from me in the studio, and unfortunately, I've succumbed to you just being on the phone. So you're teasing me this week, but I appreciate you at least being here in spirit.
Yeah. If it's any consolation, I am calling you on a brand new phone that I got today.
Oh my! In a brand new car?
Yeah.
No, I was just kidding. You finally got a new phone?
Not a brand new car. I wish, but no, unfortunately not.
What kind of phone did you get?
I upgraded to the Galaxy S6.
Ooh,
today.
you and Grant now have the
Yeah.
same phone. I love it.
Oh, we do? Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
How
I'm
does
not
that?
surprised at all.
I know you guys call each other brothers, so it's no surprise that you brothers
do.
now have the same phone. I have an iPhone 6, so I don't know what you want from me, but
Well, I mean, iPhone, but yeah. Whatever.
yeah, well, you get what you pay for. That's what my wife wanted, so that's what we got. So you got to keep the wife
Yeah,
happy.
iPhones
Happy
are
wife,
good,
happy life, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. For all you listeners out there, that was your one piece of wedding or marriage advice this week. So take it, use it, and enjoy it. So, all right, Connor, your fight corner is first on the docket for us this week. What do you have for us, sir?
For my fight corner today, I have two things.
All right.
I'm going to talk a little Ronda Rousey, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
So, first of all, we had a bit of a meeting the other day in which one of the other guests on the show, David Kenyon, brought something up that I hadn't heard before, this Chris Cyborg.
Yes.
So I decided to look into it. And I did some digging, and I found out that Ronda Rousey, when she was in Strikeforce, which was where she fought before she fought in the UFC.
Okay.
She actually started out at 145 instead of 135.
Oh my. Okay.
Which I didn't know.
Nor did I.
And then she wanted to fight Chris Cyborg pretty much right as she was getting started, but she wanted it to be a big deal. So this is via Bleacher Report now. They kind of go on to explain that Ronda Rousey dropped weight to 135 so that she could kind of take over that weight class, which she did. A couple months later, she won the title, and then she got bumped up to the UFC. And we've seen how well she's been doing here.
Absolutely.
But early in her career, she wanted that Chris Cyborg fight.
Oh.
But now she's sitting pretty on top of the 135 weight class in the UFC. So she's basically daring Chris Cyborg to drop weight because Chris Cyborg fights at 145.
Mm-hmm.
Ronda Rousey is kind of calling her to drop 10 pounds and come and fight her.
Ooh. Do you think that's going to happen?
Dana White is considering it. He's the president of the UFC. And
why does he get the final say?
He
if Cyborg drops 10 pounds, like, why can't
that would put her in Ronda Rousey's weight class, but Dana White's the one who clears all the fights.
I suppose.
He's the one that he's in charge. So all fights go through him. He okays it, based on how he thinks it will be lucratively for the UFC. And it will be very lucrative if Chris Cyborg and Ronda Rousey fight, because people are calling for it, screaming for it, even more than the Mayweather fight, which will never happen. But
no.
The Chris Cyborg fight would be a great fight to watch because she's wow, I don't even have words for it. She dominates in the 145 weight class. She's a very, very skilled fighter. She destroys her opponents. So it would be interesting to see her go up against Ronda Rousey, especially if she has to drop 10 pounds, because that would, you might think that it would make her, more stronger because she has to drop this weight, so she'll be able to, she's used to fighting heavier people.
Yes.
But it actually throws off a lot of different things, because when you're not used to fighting someone and, you're not used to fighting someone who's outside your weight class.
No,
and
not normally.
You get very good, very tailored to fight those in your weight class. So dropping 10 pounds, although it doesn't seem like it would be much, actually would throw off just mentally a lot of what she does normally in a fight. I still think it would be a great fight. I think she could do it, and I look forward to seeing maybe if that would happen.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's everything about Ronda Rousey. Now we're going to move on, because one of the biggest names in UFC fighting history ever was just suspended for 12 months because he tested positive for steroids.
Shocker.
It's some specific steroid, but we won't get into that. But it's Anderson Silva.
Oh, really?
And yes, the Spider tested positive for steroids.
How do you feel about that?
So he, I watched him when he started in the UFC, and he's the best. Pound for pound, he is probably the best fighter that's fought in the UFC.
Wow.
You can make arguments for other fighters, but he's there. He is tied for first, top 5. I'm not giving him anything lower than that.
Okay.
He is a phenomenal fighter. And, a lot of people are going to say, well, he was on these drugs and whatnot, and it enhanced his performance because that's what they're called, right?
Yeah, it's usually,
it takes so much more than just physical strength to be a good fighter.
Okay.
And so I think even still, even the fact that he did take drugs, which I do not condone, do not take drugs, do not do performance enhancers, none of that. None of that is, you don't need it.
Okay.
I think he would have been the same fighter without it, but we'll never know. But my question for you is,
yes.
His punishment, he had a major fine. I think the total came to around $380,000, something like that for
Good
the fine.
Lord. Okay.
And then he was suspended for a full year. He cannot compete until 2016. 12 months from now, he cannot compete.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, how do you think other sports would be different if they had the same type of policies? Like, we hear people in baseball and football, that they get busted for these drugs. Normally in football we're hearing a lot more about weed rather than performance enhancers.
Yes.
But I don't know if they would suspend someone for a full year. I don't know. What was Josh Gordon's thing? What was
Josh Gordon? He was
suspended.
He was supposed to be 10 games, and then it ended up being, I think, more than that. And now he's not even on an NFL team anymore.
Yeah. So I'm curious your thoughts on what if all sports
yes.
had the same type of drug penalties.
So 1 year suspension and a hefty fine, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, that was his.
Okay,
So.
I think it should happen. I think that it's a little ridiculous that too many players are getting just a slap on the hand and saying, "Oh, you did, drugs." I mean, yes, like you said, it's been more marijuana than anything with NFL players, but with baseball players, we saw that happen to Alex Rodriguez. He got suspended for the entire baseball season, which is far longer and I feel like far more painful to miss 100-some games. Than just a few fights like as it would be for UFC or something. But I think that would be good because it's going to teach them a lesson. Be like, look, you're getting paid millions to play this game, so we're going to slap you with a hefty fine to take away some of your money, and then the job, the quote unquote job that you have, we're going to not let you participate in that for a year. So I think that's a fantastic thing to do it. I think the NFL should adopt that. I think MLB, NBA, even MLS and NHL. Why not? Let's just have a universal penalty system for substance abuse. If you have any sort of substance abuse, I don't care if you took one hit off of a joint of marijuana or you've been doing drugs or doing steroids since you were 10, the punishment needs to be you did drugs, and that's not condoned by these leagues, so you need to be punished.
Yeah, I pretty much hold the same exact thought. So
fantastic.
I was happy to see that the UFC came down as hard as they did on him because you get paid by fight. Like, sure, you'll have endorsements, you'll have other things that will get you some money, but you get paid per fight. And that's how UFC, that's how they make their money. And if he's not allowed to compete for an entire year, he can train, sure, but he's not getting paid. At least not by the UFC. If he does something else, and that's a big hit for someone who that's your career is to go fight and you get paid per fight. You're not getting paid. You can't, it's harder to exist without getting paid. So I was happy to see that they did that. I look forward to his comebacks because I guarantee you he's going to come out swinging when he gets back, and he's going to be
just
as dangerous. I mean,
well,
you'd be surprised how many fights he won by not swinging.
He just
kicked
people or what?
He's done things where he's jumped off the cage and kicked someone in the face and knocked him out that way. I've seen him like twist people in ways that you should not be twisted, and then they tap out or pass out. Yeah, he's just an expert. He's an expert in everything.
Wow.
And yes, he's very strong, but he's skilled. His technique is phenomenal.
Fair enough.
So,
wow.
Still one of the best fighters to ever fight.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy to see that he got suspended.
Well, I'm glad that somebody's happy that somebody got suspended for once instead of everyone being in such a rage like, oh, he didn't deserve it. Well, yeah, he did.
Yeah, no, he deserved it.
Don't do drugs, kid. Simple enough.
Don't do drugs.
Good Lord.
Terrible,
all right, and your fitness tip this week, sir, is?
My fitness tip is going off of what we did last week, which is how to be a better athlete.
Ooh.
So today we are going to talk about. I'm going to stick with football because we did how to throw, and that's a thing.
Tis
for
the season, so
it's kind of important, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today is how to catch.
Oh.
How to become a better receiver.
Okay.
And now there are several things that make receivers good at what they do. And those things are until you break it down, it seems very obvious. I'm going to say things that are very obvious, but these things are very important when you're trying to, break up someone's training. Like, how do we make them better? And when you get down to a training aspect, it actually becomes quite complicated. There's a lot of different things you can do as a trainer to make these athletes optimal, to make them the best that they can be. And so a receiver, they have to, first of all, you have to have great hands. You have to be able to actually catch the ball, because if you drop the ball every time, no one's going to throw it to you.
Yeah, that might be, a difficult thing if that keeps happening.
So this is how I would suggest you get, better at that. So one way is, obviously you have to go out and practice. You have to go out and you have to catch balls. You have to go out and you have to get hit by the quarterback, because they throw rockets.
Yes.
And it hurts. And you have to be tough enough to be able to do that. And then also, something you can actually work on is when you're weight training, you can not get any assistance from anyone when setting up an exercise. So what I mean by that is, if I'm doing a dumbbell bench press and people pick up the dumbbells for me and all I have to do is press it up, that throws all of your proportions out of whack.
That's not helping you at all, yeah.
Exactly. If I lift up the dumbbell myself, then suddenly I'm building stronger hands, I'm building stronger forearms so I can grip, I can handle my own weight. And it helps you, like your equilibrium of muscle. All your stabilizer muscles get worked then, and you get more out of doing that. Now, it seems very simple, like I was just saying, it seems very simple. Pick up your own weight, right? Super simple. But you would be very surprised at how many people actually do not do that, how many people actually get assistance from people to push the weight up, because they think that, it's more weight, it's better for me to do it this way, but not necessarily. Don't do it. Another aspect that makes receivers good is their agility and speed. So when I don't know, well, you played football, so you've seen at a college level, wide receiver practice.
Yep.
When they're running up and down, jumping, darting side to side, everything has a purpose.
Absolutely.
They're trying to make a receiver quick on their feet and be able to react fast enough to catch the ball, because the receivers don't know which one of them is going to get the ball. When the play starts, they don't know who the quarterback is going to throw it to.
Yes.
Obviously there are some plays that are designed to have certain targets, but for the most part, that's not the case. So every receiver has to be ready for it. And that takes a lot of concentration. It takes quick reflexes, because all of a sudden that ball, you turn towards the quarterback and all of a sudden that ball's in your hands. You have to be ready. You have to be fast enough to get there. You have to be agile enough to get by the cornerback. And then you have to be good enough at catching to catch the ball.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So my advice to those who want to become better at wide receiver is, I want you to work on your footwork. I want you to have really fast feet. Work on your sprinting. Work on your agility work. Shuttle runs, different cone drills, hurdles, those types of things help help the explosiveness in your legs, which will propel you forward in order to be faster than the defensive back and put you in the position to catch the ball.
All right.
And then the last thing that makes a good wide receiver is confidence that you can catch the ball. It sounds very simple, but a lot of times you just have to jump up for it and trust that your hands are going to get there. Because if you don't take those risks, you won't catch the ball. Again, very simple, but you see it all the time. Someone lacks the confidence, they didn't extend far enough, something, and they drop the ball. So have the confidence that you can catch the ball, because you can. I believe in you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Connor. I appreciate you believing in me, or the wide receivers out there. Look it all the way in, make that diamond with your hands to catch that ball. So
exactly.
Yeah, I've done many wide receiver drills in my days, Connor. So, well, thank you so much for stopping by via the phone, Connor. We look forward to having you again in studio when we go to our 5-day-a-week exciting frenzy starting on August 24th.
Very exciting.
So thank you so much, man. Enjoy your evening and enjoy your week, and we'll be hearing from you again next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Anytime. Connor Christensen, our health expert, our fight corner, UFC, MMA, all of that jazz. Anything to do with fitness, basically, Connor Christensen is the man, and he can do it, and we love him for that. So check out his fitness tips. They'll be posted, just the actual segment clips here on Spreaker.com for you to just listen if you want to hear just what he's got to say. And it's the best way to stay up to date with what he's doing. And starting this fall, we'll have videos from him and all kinds of other fun stuff as well. So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Sid Powell will be in the studio as we are going to chat it up about, yes, Deflategate, yes, Tom Brady, and somebody really needs to fire the commissioner, so hopefully he talks about that as well. This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax. No Grant. Grant is off. His final week off. I really wish I would have gotten to go on vacation the whole summer. Must be nice, Grant. No, I'm kidding. We'll be excited to have Grant joining us again as we start our 5-day-a-week series starting on August 24th. Remember, you can listen to us on Sports Radio America starting on August 24th from 11 to 1 Central on Live 365 and tune in. You can listen to us on demand, of course, anytime you want on Spreaker.com, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, and on thesportsquotient.com as well. Remember, drop us a line, whether it's social media, the Bax and Grant Sports Show on Facebook, at BG Sports Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, at Baxter Colburn, at Grant's Rant BGSS, or by an email as well, bgsportshow@gmail.com. And then remember, you can call us and leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text at 262-324-2385. That's 262-324-2385. We love hearing from you, listeners. We appreciate your continued support, and we can't wait to continue this exciting journey moving forward as we go to our 5 days a week. August 24th, mark your calendars, tell your friends, your family, your pets, your enemies. Just everybody loves the Bax and Grant Sports Show. What's not to love? I mean, come on. Anyway, the reason that most of you will probably tune out, though, for the remaining 10 minutes of the show is because we're going to talk about Deflategate after I went on record last week and swore I would never talk about it again. But, like I said, things change when the Deflategate expert shows up at your front door and says, "Hey, let's talk." So I can't really argue with that. So when Sid Powell, it's great to finally have you here in the studio in person. So welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Hey, Bax, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to finally have you here instead of just on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can actually see if you're making faces at me or making fun of me while I'm speaking. So it's nice to finally have you here in the studio. And for those that have listened to the show, they know that if you're here, we're going to talk about the Patriots or Deflategate, sure. But since they're pretty much the same thing, we might as well talk about both. So briefly, there's been all kinds of crazy stuff happening with Deflategate.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your thoughts and feelings about everything that's transpired recently.
Well, first of all, I want to go on record as saying the Green Bay and Patriots game the other night. There was actually air in the footballs for anybody who was concerned.
Okay. I'm so glad that we were able to settle that debate right off the bat. So, and New England lost.
Yeah, well, that's okay because right now they're evaluating talent. So win, loss, everybody likes to win. But
it's preseason. No one cares.
Yeah, pretty much. Although I was impressed with Green Bay's secondary. But getting back to the Patriots, they're evaluating talent right now. The pass rush looked pretty good, which is going to take the place of our secondary that everybody's concerned about.
Absolutely.
So I guess one thing that's really baffled me throughout this whole Deflategate situation is, like, what were the referees doing the whole game while people were talking about there was air pressure missing on the balls?
Probably getting coffee or something. I mean, it was cold. There was a playoff game in New England. Yeah. It was probably cold. They probably were getting their hand warmers ready. They were probably drinking some hot cocoa on the sidelines. Like, come on. Who's got time to check ball pressure? That's just a trivial thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess the point I want to make with that is that if the referees didn't notice, I mean, it obviously isn't that big a deal, not only for the importance of the game, but the actual rule of tampering with equipment.
Exactly.
Which carries, as we said before, a $25,000 maximum fine. So
not a 4-game suspension or $1 million penalty or a draft pick being taken away.
Correct.
But that's just kind of how Commissioner Goodell has sort of set this trend recently. We saw it with Ray Rice. We saw it with Adrian Peterson. We saw it with Greg Hardy. The list can go on and on and on. And now Tom Brady and the organization with the New England Patriots. It's a much ado about nothing is really what it comes down to borrow the old Shakespeare play line, because it's ball pressure in a football.
Correct.
It is, yes, you need the ball to play the game, obviously, but nobody got shot. Nobody hit their son. Nobody got abused.
Correct.
It was
air
pressure.
The coach got kind of abused.
Well, nobody was physically beaten, by
the coach kind of got physically beaten.
a little bit, but either way, at the end of the day, though, it's ball pressure in a ball.
Correct.
It's air. It's
correct. Well,
it bothers me.
So many things have come up in this transaction. First of all, when they applied to go to a court hearing, they applied in Minnesota, trying to get the judge David Doughty to rule over the case. Obviously, the NFL beat the NFLPA to the punch.
Yes.
And trying to get it moved to New York, which for some reason they consider that a victory. But Judge Berman, who is assigned the case, is the same. His ruling would be pretty much the same.
What team does he support? That's the real question, I think, at the end of the day. Is he a Jets fan? Is he a Colts fan?
Well, that was my concern, too, with him being out of New York. But I guess from what we're hearing and what we've been told by sources is that he's more interested in the facts, which we should have all been in the first place.
Who'd have thought?
Oh, imagine that?
Wow.
Somebody who actually cares about
someone's
really
doing
evidence?
their job?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Well, he's a judge.
He
doesn't work in the league.
Yeah, what's that like? Must be nice.
Yeah, doesn't make $10 million or $40 million a year.
No. I mean, those are. But for a nonprofit organization, though, I mean, what do you expect? But so, what is the next step then? If you are Commissioner Goodell, if you could say something, if you had a moment in the office with Goodell by yourself and just said, look, a heart to heart, be like, look, man, this is what you should do. What would your advice be to him moving forward?
Well, I'd bring my briefcase and show him how to use ZipRecruiter.
Ah, fantastic. And be like, hey, here's ZipRecruiter, Indeed.com, Monster Job.
Exactly.
Just...
join the rest of us. It'd be nice to carry that kind of power around, make that kind of money, spend $3 million of the NFL's money instead of helping retired players or players that have been injured.
Yeah.
All
these lawsuits that with concussions.
Correct.
It's basically PTSD for NFL players in terms of all the concussions because the protocol wasn't involved, and now there was that massive lawsuit that was finally settled.
And none of this stuff is being addressed with that money that they're spending on all these court cases. With the independent reporter who's now basically leaving the NFL out to dry because now that he's gone under oath in front of a federal judge, he's not really supporting the NFL. Imagine that.
Yeah, I
guess the check cleared.
Must have finally cleared and be like, oh, what? I don't know what you're talking about. The NFL? Who's that? So, is there any way that the league can recover from this?
The way I'm seeing it, and from the sources I speak to, it's right now about saving face.
Okay. And how do you go about doing that, though? I feel like they've dug themselves such a deep hole that they popped up in China for how deep they dug the hole.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they can totally save it. I think they need to focus on other issues. But the first thing I think they need to do with this case being the most impending derogatory thing going on in the league right now,
yes,
they need to say, hey, look, we messed up. I apologize. But the problem with that now is that the way the investigation has gone, it looks like a campaign to smear Tom Brady's name or something along those lines.
Wow.
So how do you get out of that? I mean,
I think that no matter what ends up happening, not everybody's going to be happy, but we knew that going in. The fact that as soon as this became an issue, we're like, no one is going to be officially happy no matter what happens. Whether Brady walks away scot-free and the organization walks away scot-free, or if it's just Brady that gets suspended, and, whatever way you go about it, someone's going to be mad at the end of the day.
Well, they have to be. I mean, this has been something that didn't have to happen, or at least go this far. It should have been addressed way back, before the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
I think, since this was a second offense or second complaint
by
the same team. They should have been addressed the first time. They should have been warned, hey, we're going to be watching you. We had a complaint. That's the way it's been handled in the past.
Yes.
So that's what baffled me about how it got to be this big. And then it was a Super Bowl distraction, which is miraculous how the Patriots walked away with a win with that kind of distraction.
Absolutely.
I mean, the last time they had a distraction like that in such a big game was back when they played the Packers, when Bill Parcells was retiring and leaving the team.
Yep.
He resigned. So that was a distraction, and you saw what happened there.
Exactly. Brett Favre was able to capture his only Super Bowl victory, and Packer Nation is forever clung to that victory.
I don't blame him, though. I mean, it doesn't matter what it looks like coming into the game. You play the game on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, when you play the game on the field, Roger Goodell plays his game in the office. He does what he's supposed to be doing, and if he's going to uphold the shield, then uphold the shield in a respectful way so that people can continue to look at you as someone they want to follow. But I can't see that happening. I don't see how he walks away from this. Now, I'm not saying that Brady's going to be totally innocent or that he's totally innocent, or obviously his name would have never came up.
Exactly, if he was totally innocent.
I have another question. Maybe you can help me with this.
Okay.
And just hypothetically,
of course,
if Tom Brady happens to not get suspended, or whether he gets a fine or not is another story. But if he happens to not get suspended, how do you rectify fining the Patriots $1 million and 2 draft picks?
You don't. I mean, you just. The $1 million is trivial money. It doesn't mean $1 million.
Yeah, but I mean the precedent it sets.
It does.
The highest fine in the history of football. I mean that sets some precedent for
it does,
going forward. So how do you rectify that?
There's no real easy way to do it.
So even if Brady comes out of this victorious, it still doesn't justify what happened with the team. Because how do you punish both?
Because you're punishing the entire entity of the New England Patriots when only one player is on trial. This isn't like 6 or 7 players that were, Gronkowski wasn't there. It wasn't, Bill Belichick wasn't there, helping them with the balls. It's like it is Tom Brady versus the NFL. Oh, he plays for the Patriots.
And why didn't Mr. Goodell interview in his investigation the 2 equipment managers?
Mm-hmm.
And
we heard they both got canned, but even still, those guys, why have they not been brought up?
Exactly. I mean, they had all their text messages, which brings me to my next point about Tom Brady's telephone being destroyed. I mean, why is that an issue if they had the text messages from the 2 equipment managers? They were texting one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just some of the things that were brought up to be relevant really weren't. It was all a smokescreen to try and deflect the attention to what really was the matter. I mean, you go after the team, you go after the whole organization, basically.
Yes. No, absolutely. Which it pains me that we can't spend more time to talk about it, but it's good that we can. Can we put this to bed now? Can we?
I'm fine with it because to me, it's, at the end of the day, it's all about what you can prove.
Yes, and you as a lifelong Patriots fan, you still feel relatively confident that even if Brady does, God forbid, get suspended for 4 games, that Jimmy G and company will be able to survive those 4 games without him.
I believe the rest of the league is going to feel that wrath, honestly. However it turns out.
Fair enough. Well, Sid, it's been great to have you in studio. I appreciate you taking the time.
Missed you, man.
Yeah, I missed you too. It's great to have you come up from Florida, so enjoy your trip back. You head back early next week. So thanks again, and we look forward to hearing more from you during the regular season.
It's always my pleasure.
Anytime. All right, Sid Powell, our resident New England Patriots fan. And he's not just a fan. He's our analyst for the Patriots. He knows about all things Deflategate and just always makes for a good time just for chatting about his knowledge of the league. So with that being said, it is time to wrap up another exciting edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show. We appreciate all of you that have been tuning in live on Spreaker.com. Remember, you can listen to us Monday nights. This is the final week you can listen to us on Monday nights from 7 to 10 Eastern on SportsRadioAmerica.com, Live 365, and tune in and listen to us on demand anytime you want on Spreaker.com, on iTunes, on iHeartRadio, and thesportsquotient.com as well. Social media, you can find us on Facebook, The Bax and Grant Sports Show, and then Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at BG Sports Show. Email us at bgsportshow@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. If you got a little bit of a winded response in terms of anything we talked about with Deflategate, with the soccer stuff we chatted about, anything that Connor has talked about with his fitness tips or his fight corners, and then our AFC, NFC North previews that we offered as well. And remember, you can call and leave us a voicemail anytime or text us at 262-324-2385 and follow myself on Twitter at Baxter Colburn and follow Grant at Grant's Rant BGSS as well. Another exciting edition is in the bags. The next time we speak, it will be on August 24th as we commence our 5 days a week series, 11 to 1 Central on Sports Radio America and 7 to 8 a.m. Central on Spreaker.com Live. I'm Baxter Colburn on behalf of Grant Coppersmith. This has been the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Enjoy your week, everyone.